I put this shirt on today. It makes me feel as if maybe we're going to be getting some more decent weather sometime again soon. We are getting into a warm up period, and some of the worst weather that I've seen since I moved here may be coming to an end. This has been the worst winter in this part of the country, I'm told, in about 24 years. And not appreciating it, even though I've grown up and worked in worse. It's still not fun to deal with this because it's been about 10 years since I've had anything of this scope that I've had to drive through and walk through and the like. Just wanted to make a couple of quick comments today. This is really an offshoot from a conversation with my friend Jake Smith. Jake and I talked a couple of days ago, and Jake was sharing with me that we're going to have a civil war in this country. He said he doesn't have any doubt about it any longer because the liberals just can't control themselves, despite the fact that 57% of Americans tell Rasmussen reports they approve of what Donald Trump did with his executive order on people coming here from other countries, who, by the way, have no constitutional right to come here, and only 32% approved or disapproved. It shows you Trump has a wide margin among voters, including Democrats. 53% of Democrats actually ended up approving. So you would think that the people who are out stamping around in airports and demanding that they get their way, and Chuck Schumer whining on the floor of the U.S. Senate, crying and pissing his pants or whatever else it is he's doing, you would think that these people would start to realize that they're a little bit on the fringe. Schumer used to be fond of saying they're not in the mainstream. Well, he ought to look in the mirror in this particular situation. I am a talk show host, so what I do is use a lot of hyperbole. And I'm guilty myself of over the last half dozen years or more saying that we're probably headed for some sort of civil war. Did I really believe it? Uh, I got to be honest with you. I guess I did, but I'm a little nervous now, and that what I'm seeing might actually be evidence that we are headed in that particular direction. And there are a lot of people out there. Media would like a civil war because media feels, hey, we'll get more people reading our websites, watching our television programs, reading our newspapers. They would feel that it would be a way to gin up ratings, I suppose, at the expense of a lot of their countrymen, which seems to me to be a little bit underhanded and self-serving and just downright immoral. But again, we're talking about American news media. I'm a little concerned though because Donald Trump says he's not going to be backing down on anything. It doesn't appear though that the other side isn't going to be backing down. And Steve Bannon was right the other day when he said that the media is an opposition political party to Donald Trump. Spot on. And I was reading this morning where Pat Buchanan said the same thing. Mr. Trump has a lot that they're throwing at him. And this morning, in fact, there's a lot of criticism of Mr. Trump from, of course, conservatives who didn't like him in the first place. So he's got the Democrats against him, the media against him, conservatives against him. In other words, the entire media and political establishment is going up against this one man. That means it's going to be very, very difficult for him to forge ahead. Now, I also worry that there are going to be people who try to remove him from office by any means necessary. That's a serious, serious concern. By any means necessary, and we should be very vigilant in trying to ensure that doesn't happen. Would that so inflame the people who put Mr. Trump into office that they would then take to the streets and that they would take on the other side? That's where you would have civil war. I'm not so sure. I don't know what motivates people to go out into the streets and actually finally have a meltdown or an eruption, if you will. That might be a better way to put that. I have a lot of friends out there who have enjoyed listening to me on the radio, but when it comes to the time where inevitably after a few years I say something that annoys somebody and I get pushed off the air because of it, that is fired, cashiered, canned, however you'd like to put it. A lot of these people say, well, that's how it works, I guess, but nobody ever goes out and demonstrates on my behalf. Would it be different with the President of the United States if the establishment decided to take out somebody who was apparently working for those very same people and promising, carrying through on the promises he made them? That's a serious point I think that we all have to consider. And so I don't know how or what is the breaking point. Now, revolutions do happen from time to time. And some writers were saying last fall we were in a pre-revolutionary state in America. But I don't know that we're yet ready because you may be angry if someone pushes Trump out of the way and then we just continue sailing along toward the edge of the cliff, the edge of the falls. But, you've got a lot of entertainments on cable TV and, a lot of other things to keep you occupied. Are you willing to go out into the streets and actually risk anything to save this country in the long run? I don't know, but I say that it doesn't happen very often. On the other hand, it still happens. I just don't know what the causality is, the triggering effect that takes place that gets something like this started because we had a revolution in this country. Why did it start then? Why didn't it start 20 years earlier? Why didn't it start 20 years later? The Irish had an uprising in 1798. It failed. They had another one in 1848. It failed. They had one in 1916. It failed. In other words, it failed on the battlefield, but the 1916 uprising is actually what led to Irish independence, even though it was a failure. So you don't know. I mean, there's so many different elements that go into all of this. You look at the Russian Revolution 100 years ago. I think from a historical perspective, we just think the communists marched into town, killed off the royals, and then took over. But it didn't actually happen like that. There were a series of revolutions that were taking place. And the Tsar left for a while and apparently was happy in exile. And then it was only later that somebody decided he had to be killed and his family taken out. But you had several different parties that were vying for control, and the Bolsheviks were just a small minor party. But eventually they prevailed over all of the others. And then there was a long period of a civil war in Russia through the early 1920s before the Bolsheviks finally prevailed. So there was no guarantee in 1917 that Russia was going to be communist despite the Tsar abdicating. It turned out that way with a whole series of events. It's just like playing a game of billiards. You fire and then you don't know where all of those balls are going to go. I guess if you play a lot, you have some notion, but they're bouncing all over the place and banking here and there. And events, I think, tend to work like this too in life. And so we're at this point now where anything I think could happen. And if someone tries to get into Mr. Trump's way, will there be people in middle America who aren't known for going out and marching in the streets? Tea Party is the exception. And even then, it was going to a large, after the Beck rally in Washington in 2010, it was said it resembled a large church picnic. I was there. It certainly did feel that way. And it was fun to go to all of these rallies. I also think for the American left, and I had a conversation with a friend yesterday. He's a retired Air Force colonel, and his brother was a colonel in the Army. They have a long-standing tradition in their family of service to this country. And we were having a conversation, and I pointed out, he's an Ohio native as well, that at Kent State, after the shooting of some of the demonstrators there back in 1970, you didn't really have any effective anti-war demonstrations afterwards. It was like it melted away. Why is that? Well, the more serious people went underground. Some of them called themselves the underground, and they were still bombing post offices and government buildings and the like. But most of the people who were out there for the party, to meet girls or meet guys, they drifted away. All of a sudden, it wasn't fun anymore. This was reality. And media likes to say America was horrified. Actually, polls show that 9 out of 10 Americans approved of what the National Guard did. So if somebody was to go out there and actually fire back at all of these demonstrators who are slowing down traffic at airports and marching in the streets and smashing windows, because for a lot of them, hey, this is a lot of fun. What a great party. But if somebody were actually to take them on and they realized it was serious business, maybe even the left would drift away too and fade into the background. It's an interesting time we're living in because somebody is going to push the envelope, I believe, from one side or the other. And when that happens, oh, golly, this country is going to go through a very turbulent period. Will it last long or will it be over within a matter of a few weeks? I favor the few week theory, which says just be prepared for your side to win and win fast and do what you have to do to get it done. Now, living where I do, I'm in one of the safest spots in the country. I wouldn't want to be in Baltimore or Washington or Philadelphia or Los Angeles or any of these other large metropolises. But living out here in the middle of the high desert, life will go on just as it went on yesterday and the day before and the day before that. We'll all be just observers watching the TV show. And that's pretty much how it'll wind down for all of us, no matter what the outcome is. All right, hey, I've got a show coming up today. Going to talk about the firing of the insubordinate, Sally Yates at the Department of State. This was long overdue. And if Senate had done its job and actually confirmed Rex Tillerson, we wouldn't have to be, or excuse me, Department of Justice, if they'd done their job and actually, and gotten Jeff Sessions into that office and everything working forward and moving on right now, we wouldn't have these worries. You got a Republican majority in the Senate. Just pull the dang trigger. The nuclear option, it's called. That's the euphemism. Get it done. Get these people confirmed. Get them into their positions. All of the liberals who are out there wailing about her dismissal, well, A, she defied the policy of her boss. She has a new boss. The old boss still thinks he's boss, but he's gone. So he's out of the way. Even though media is still trying to ensure that somehow they make him dictator for life, Mr. Obama is a spent force. And if you defy the new boss, you're likely going to lose a job. But I'll be honest with you right now. We need to get these people confirmed so that we can get Mr. Trump's team in place so they can carry out the policy. And again, an overwhelming majority of Americans support what he has been doing. I was reading this morning where some conservatives, even conservatives, are saying, oh, he's moving too fast. No, he's not. You're just not used to it because government moves at a glacial pace. This is a businessman. This is what businessmen do. Businessmen come out and they actually get things done. It's the nature of what they do. They have to. It's called efficiency. It's how you survive in the world of business. So he's running the government in the very same manner, and everyone is shocked. Even conservatives who said we need a smaller government and we need radical change. Well, here it is, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, this was too fast." Shut up. Just get out of the way. All right. Program coming up in a few minutes. I'm about 15 minutes out. Steve Millington joins us. He's the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. We'll be talking about this topic. We'll also be joined by Travis Rothweiler. He is the city manager of Twin Falls, Idaho. He's going to talk with us a few minutes about some of the issues taking place in the city. And if you've got a question or comment for the city today, please feel free to chime in. After all, we've got a lot of potholes that need to be repaired now that the snow and ice are actually going to be melting over the next several days. He's coming up just after 9 o'clock news this morning. Obviously, you can hear us at News Radio 1310 KLIX. If you're outside the listening region, outside the Magic Valley of Idaho or outside of Jackpot, Nevada, and certain corners of northern Utah, you can always go to our, and Jesse Ventura would say it, Utah, just like he says Minnesota. We don't want to bring Jesse into this, although some of his conspiracy theories may be coming true. Well, I met him once. Pretty cool guy. I actually liked him. He's got a very good sense of humor. I didn't want to fight him, but he had a very good sense of humor. All right. Shows coming up. Go to our website if you're outside the actual listening area, newsradio1310.com. Click on Listen Live. Tune into our program. We do it every Monday through Friday between 8 and 10 o'clock Mountain Time. All right. Have a good one.